Hello, welcome to Roof It Up. Today, I am more than excited to have the one and only Patrick Carr on our show. In life, there are moments where you meet an individual and your life is forever changed. And that is Patrick Carr for our team. We met Patrick Carr. He came to our office. We got to be on his podcast. But what happened there is this incredible connection and relationship. And if you know anything too, he went to the University of Florida, which, as you know, is one of the top universities in all of the US. So you got to be smart to get in there. And he totally crushed it. So Patrick, I'm super excited to have you here.
Welcome to Roof It Up. This is a podcast about innovators, entrepreneurs, business leaders, and their stories about the course they took by Saenz Global.
Hey, first of all, I think we can just go and end the podcast right there. I mean, it's going to be tough for me to kind of live up to that kind of introduction.
You're the best.
I really appreciate that. I struggle sometimes to understand why more people do not work with your company. There are others that do similar stuff to what you do, but between you and your marketing team and the people that are involved with you, I don't think it's a surprise that your company continues to grow. I know you're stepping out of your comfort zone, I think, a little bit doing the podcast thing here.
Totally.
I know that, but I've told you before, you and your team, the people you hire, your personality and your willingness to give a crap about the people that are in front of you and the clients you serve sets you apart and your team apart from others in the industry who do something similar or parts of what you do. For me, there are really two sides to what I do. I'm down here in Orlando, Florida. I look after two companies, one called Blue Collar Media Group. The goal of that is to get out with not just contractors and blue collar workers, but to get out there with businesses that look at themselves and say, I need to create content. I need to do what Thais is doing and do a podcast and get my name out there. They don't have a clue how to do it. They're just like, look at them and go, man, and they get paralyzed by indecision. So our team goes out there and puts a camera in front of people. We teach them how to be engaging or at least get better. And then we put that content out for them. People are great at what they do, but many blue-collar entrepreneurs are humble inside and don't want to tell the world they're the best at it. And I got no problem taking my clients and telling the world, these guys are great at what they do. And so that was the goal behind Blue Collar Media Group. Tell, in some ways, very similar to you, tell the story of somebody on video, allow someone to become a fan of that individual, and then turn that appreciation for who they are into dollar bills because people want to do business with people they like. When I step out in front of a company, it is great. The people that work with me aren't worried about the ROI on a video because I go out there every single month and I generate content. I'm a branding company. I'm not a marketing company. I don't do your SEO. What I do is very simple. People are like, what's the value in that? And here's the value in it for your analyticals out there. The value is, and you've heard me use this example before, and I think it's relevant, of an air fryer. When I searched for an air fryer a few months ago, I went through once you do it, everyone knows you search on Instagram for something like that or YouTube or wherever.
You get bombarded.
Right.
Totally.
I wanted to start making some things with the air fryer, some jerky, whatever else. And I started getting these ads, and I started looking at these companies. I looked at their Instagram or their Facebook. And surprisingly, most of them had maybe 5 or 6 little pictures, maybe a grainy video. And I didn't feel comfortable ordering from a company that I didn't know.
Absolutely.
I went to one, though, and it had testimonials. It had a great page. It had them talking to people within their company and why they care about this air fryer. And I'm like, man, this looks like a company I want to do business with. So they captured me with marketing dollars. And then they kept me and got me to purchase through getting to know their company. So if your marketing is not working, oftentimes the reason for that is because you're getting people to bite on you, but you're not getting to stay with you. They're not making a decision in the moment. They leave you and don't come back. So let's make sure we keep them there.
Yeah, I love that analogy because really everyone can 100% relate. If mom's on the show, dad's on the show, if you're single on the show, you've all been there, right? Where we're like, is this too good to be true? And then you look and you're like, yeah, it's too good to be true. And that's what you're doing. You're helping And it's so true. Like all of us, and I think this new generation as well, right? As the new gen is just are going to need roofs, are going to need support, all these different areas. We're looking at media. That is how we're making our decision.
Sure. The podcast show is the Patrick Carr Show. Again, the name was interesting, but it originally was called the Contractor Connection. It was a radio program here in Orlando that I did, and my goal was to try to connect contractors to their clients or their potential clients by telling their story on the radio, and then we put a camera into the studio, and it became a podcast. And I would bring on various people within the blue-collar industries across the country for a conversation. Once I left the company I was affiliated with at that time, approximately in April of 2021, I wanted to branch out. I wanted to talk to more people. I wanted to hear more stories. And so we rebranded to the Patrick Carr Show. And since then, I go around and I simply try to talk to people and figure out what in their life or their business they're proud of, and maybe what some people that listen can grab just a little nugget of information from and apply it to their business or their personal life.
I love the Patrick Carr Show. First, I love that you named it after you, because I think you are the bomb. We are literally, guys, let me tell you a story. I am at an event. I'm right next to Patrick's booth. And the amount of people that would come and be like, how do I get on that podcast? How do I get on that podcast? And I'm like, he's not available at this moment. But, it's almost like I started to act like an admin too. Like, he's not available at the moment, but maybe you can return. But the amount of people that want to be in your podcast, that just shows what you have done. Like, it's incredible. And I want to tell you something. Yesterday, we just onboarded a new client. Shout out to the new client. I won't say who they are. And they literally said, hey, I watched your podcast. And I was like, what? So that was pretty cool. He's like, I watched your podcast. And it was funny because he said, do I get that discount from the podcast? It's like, no, that discount's not applicable anymore, but we need to update our podcast. But anyway, so it was awesome.
I get people that now approach me and people want to pay for the podcast, and against my own financial detriment and that of the team here who tells me I should do it. A guy in the industry once told me something. A guy named in the roofing industry, the name will be familiar. Dmitry Lipinski does a show called Roofing Insights. And as I got this thing started, maybe about a year ago, him and I had a conversation about charging for the podcast. He gets the same offers far before I did. And we made a decision at that time to not charge ever for somebody to come and say, I'm going to give you $1,000. I made that mistake once. And in doing so, podcasts go down a road they don't want to go down, because then you become weird to that individual. And I remember the podcast, Thais, I wanted to ask a guy some difficult questions. With somebody paying for your work, you have to really think about, rather than what's the truth for your audience, you got to think about what's in his best interest. And I didn't like that. So everything you see is organic on it. I rarely plan. I don't plan any. In fact, I can think this. I never have. I never have giving people questions for the podcast, because what I find is that it's a real opportunity to date the person in front of you, and people should take heed of this when you meet someone. I'm big on this right now. That when you go on a date with someone for the first time, you don't come with a list of questions. You don't know what's going to happen. What happens is you're genuinely sitting across the table from somebody, and you're interested in what they have to say, and you're trying to find common ground or better understand them. And if you can date the person in front of you, actively think that, okay, I'm so interested in this individual, you don't need questions. You become so engulfed in a conversation, and it brings value because you're really getting at the heart of who they are as a person. And so that's what we try to do.
I love it. I'm throwing all my questions out the window right now. I'm not going to ask them. No, I love it. No, it's so good. So good. In the roofing industry, at least, I know you're very involved in like a lot of different industries, but in the roofing industry, you have definitely made a great name for yourself. You, again, really respected in the industry. And a lot of people may look at you and go, how the heck? Like, he's incredibly successful, right? Sometimes when you tell roofing contractors, yeah, Patrick Carr, and they're like, oh, well, Patrick Carr? It's like you've been able to build that. The power in storytelling kind of helps people remember that they're not on a journey alone, right? It's so easy to get caught up and look at people's success and forget that it wasn't like this. There's hard times and good times, but what's your story? What's brought you to where you are today?
Yeah, the first thing I would say is, It's amazing to me how many people now try to jump into something new, comparing themselves to somebody who's been doing it for 5 years and are surprised they're not where that person is. It
So
doesn't matter if
powerful.
you're doing a podcast or you're running a business, or it doesn't matter. The real
Mhm.
key is not what you do in one day. It's can you continue to do it over and over and over again, 300, 400 episodes, because everybody has the means now to create a business or a podcast or content. The
Yeah.
difference is somebody, as you say, that does it consistently over and over.
Mhm.
And so what I looked at, and the way it began for me, was doing collections for contractors with a company about maybe 3 or 4 years ago, 4 years ago.
Mhm.
I jumped into
Mhm.
the game. People who didn't pay somebody for their bill. And I would call them just calling them on the phone. On the weekends, we'd spend just days, and me and a couple other guys just calling people to get the money.
Mhm.
Um, in the course of doing that, what we saw is that one of the biggest problems that we were collecting on is roofing contractors and restoration who weren't getting the insurance money for various reasons. They hadn't tracked it down. The homeowner had gotten and cashed a check. And so the principal in that company came up with a wonderful idea. And he said, hey, how about this? How about we go in and get some money in our bank? And then we will be the ones who fund the job, and we'll chase down our own money then from the insurance company. So the way it looked was that the contractor would go in and finish a job. We'd do some things with them to make sure the job was complete. And within a
Mhm.
couple of days, the RCV, for those who are not familiar, basically what the roof is worth, would be funded over to the contractor. And then that insurance money coming would be our money to get. We'd fund 92% of the job, so we made about 8%. Think of pretty good money when you think the average roof in Florida is about 17,500. Varies
Mhm.
throughout the country. So each job you did, you were making pretty damn good money, and all we're doing is chasing down what we were already chasing down before. Um,
Mm.
Beautiful. My
Good
job was sales
concept.
in that company. And so my job was to build this thing across 50 states because the same problem exists everywhere. Um, and
Right.
in the course of doing so, I tried to do more online, and I learned about the advertising. That's the way you can shake the most hands without having to physically be in some place. And when you think that this is
Mm.
COVID now,
Right.
we have some things working against us. Thing works beautifully. I'm thinking that I am basically going to just be the effing man and do whatever I want the rest of my life because this company can't lose. But the way it hit the fan was we didn't have the money to fund the jobs, because you'd fund a
Hmm.
job, and you better have enough money in the bank to keep funding jobs and be able to wait 3 to 6 months for that insurance money to come in. So if you think
Right.
about it, if you had $10 million in the bank, that goes like that in a roofer who does 20 roofs a week. And that's just one
Mhm.
roofer. Um,
Right.
and so what ended up happening was I started to get calls from people, and they're like, Pat, what the hell? I've done the job. We sent in the paperwork. Where's our money? Um, and one became three, became 12, and it started to compound on me. The owners of that company didn't want to they were sitting behind, in a white, in the tower somewhere, not talking to a person. I mean this, not even answering the phone. And I was left out there to try to defend what was happening. It was a Wednesday afternoon. I hadn't been paid in a while. I don't know how, month or two. And in fact, we got on the Zoom call, and I said, guys, enough is enough. Show me the books here, man. What's going on? And
Mhm.
I didn't get the answers I was looking for and quit that day. It was a very emotional time for me. One of the investors in that company I had worked for maybe 7 years in various capacities. But at that time, I remember I hung up the call like we're talking now. You put your hands in
Mhm.
your face like this and you go, what the hell am I going to do? Um, I was about $50,000 in credit card debt. I hadn't been paid in a while by the company, and I had no backup. I have a screenshot, Thais, a literal screenshot of my bank account, not at like a couple $1,000s, at zero, absolutely
Wow.
zero. And that was April of 2021. It's not easy to have confidence in yourself when you're looking around. You're like, I don't even know how I'm going to pay rent.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
what ended up happening is following that call, I did the right thing. I could have just buried my head in the sand,
Right.
taken the, let's just say, less brave way out, because a lot of people will just try to do that. But I called each and every one of those clients. Some of them I went out and met with personally at my own financial divide. Um, but every one of them, I told them the truth. This is what's happening. I'm leaving the company for this reason. I
Mhm.
don't know how I can help you, but I'm going to try everything I can. And I'm proud to say not one of them, and I mean this, not one of them would say, hey, Patrick, really, you screwed me over now. Because every single one of those people across various states I stuck with, we worked together. And that was a hard thing. That was a hard pill to swallow, to know you'd put a company in that situation where they were getting screwed over by people that you no longer had any relationship with.
It took a lot of humbleness. You like had to really get humble, right? Like obviously, like kind of you said, like a hard pill to swallow. But I think at the same time, it just shows in these moments, like the humbleness of like having to go, okay, I have to go out and do the right thing. And a lot of people cowered from that because it's not easy to put our pride down and like go and face people and tell them that, what's really going on. So definitely commend you on that for sure. And just kind of another example, like when the shit hits the fan and we have to, it's easy to coward, which most people do, but like facing it. When you were telling your story, you're such a good storyteller because literally I felt like I was watching a movie. I felt like I was watching a kingdom that was falling apart and you were like the knight over there trying to like defend the, like when you were saying, you're like there and the people are coming to you and you're trying to like figure out what's going on. And then the kingdom is like falling apart and you're kind of there. And that's, as you were saying that story, that's literally what I was picturing, which just goes back to what a great storyteller you are. You can captivate our imagination as you're speaking.
At that time, the only thought I had in my mind was, well, actually, I didn't have any. Luckily, I got very fortunate is what happened. And, this is what doing the right things can sometimes do for you. In the course of those apologies, I had two of the clients who said, basically, that really sucks. We'll take it up with that company, but we like what you did for that company. We saw you online. You grew that company. Can you do that for us? And, of course, not having a clue how I make any money, I just spouted off, yes, I can. I didn't know how, but of course I thought I could. I had used a videographer with that company for all of our video work. Of course, I couldn't afford that guy anymore. So one person hired me up in Jacksonville, Florida, and I appreciate them to this day. Although we only worked together for a couple of months because I did such a crappy job. But I remember the first day on my way there, my car broke down along I-95, which goes from, goes all the way up the east coast of the U.S. But I didn't have enough money to pay for a Uber or a cab from the rest stop on 95 where the car wouldn't start. And it was just south of Jacksonville, so probably 20 minutes away. And I got so lucky. I called the guy to say that I was going to be late, although I had no idea how I was going to get there. But luckily, this particular individual said, hey, man, we'll come pick you up. And I thought, like, man, how nice, because I didn't know how I'm going to get to you anyway. And I get there. I didn't own a camera. I had never edited a video. I didn't even know what a camera would do or how I was going to do it. I walked in the door, and the particular owner of this company said, basically, what are you doing, man? Like, how are you going to shoot the content without a camera? So I took out, I think at that time, like an iPhone 12, and I said, so when I normally start these contracts, what I like to do is to work with the sales reps to teach them how to generate content for themselves on their phone.
I love it. So you just kind of like do something out there.
The guy looks at me and says, oh, it's great. We have I said, yeah, I know you have your sales meeting today. I'd like to go out with a few of your guys and teach them what to do. So we have more content coming in as we work this contract. Blah, 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 blah. At the end of the day, the guy paid me what I was due for that month. That money at least got me back to Orlando. I got a cheap camera and a cheap lens and the cheapest tripod you could find on Amazon. And then I went to YouTube University and began to understand at least some basics of how to formulate a video. You
gotta love YouTube University.
Yeah. And so I turned into 1 to 2 contracts, and I was able to get the podcast started back up, and a little bit of money here, a little bit of money there. And we squeaked by for a while, and that was good. And that's how the whole thing starts to form into content creation for contractors and businesses, and then the podcast from there.
So one of my favorite podcasts is How I Built This. I don't know if you've ever heard it, but it's really everyone's story of like how they built their company. And over again, some of the most successful businesses we look at, the journey was very similar. It's like no money in the bank. I just had to get out of here. And so you just start like, okay, I love how you were like, absolutely I can do it. And it's like, not that it's like deep down, I don't know, maybe this is how you felt. Deep down, you know you can do it. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I know I'm going to do it and I can do it. You know what I mean? Like, and so being able to have that confidence, even when you're in the pit, right, is like some of the most creative moments. It's they say like in a lot of, I'm Brazilian, so it's like I'm from the jungle. So in the jungle, the people don't have anything, but they are freaking creative. Like because they don't have anything, they have to use creativity, and like they're fast thinkers and they build and create things. And I think sometimes in moments of scarcity or moments where we really don't have like the money, we don't have it, you get creative, because it's so easy just to be like, oh, I have this, I can just go buy it, or I can just do this. But there's something that comes with that moment where you're like, I don't have the funds, I don't have this, but I'm gonna do this. And you just got creative. Like you had a phone and you're like, oh yeah, today we're gonna meet, I'm gonna go with your team, we're gonna, like, freaking brilliant. And I look at you now, it's like you have some of the best gear out there. Like I look at where you are now, it's just like crazy, that's your story, and yet so refreshing, because it just reminds people, even when you feel like you are at your low, it's a great opportunity for creativity and to take you to a place where you maybe would have never been, right? Because if that all would have hadn't happened, I really don't think we would have even met, or you wouldn't have met all the people that you've met now, and you wouldn't probably be going where you are going right now. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but
no, it's absolutely true. And I think that some people, they make the mistake, Thais, at times of thinking, well, I'm not lucky, it's not going to happen to me, or that kind of break hasn't happened. And I think you have to put yourself in a position to catch a break.
Yeah.
And if you do that, then eventually you do.
Mm-hmm.
And that, it truly will happen. You'll catch your break if you continue to put yourself out there to accept it. But you give up, it's not for me, I'm not lucky, this isn't right, let me go back and put my dream on hold, whatever it might be. That giving up on someone's self, well, I'll say it this way, I know time is limited, but people don't chase their dream, and I'm figuring this out more because they don't believe they think they deserve it. And they'll tell you, man, I'm gonna be the next Joe Rogan. Okay, do you really? I mean, do you really want that? Do you really feel like you deserve millions of people to watch you, or do you just want to tell your friends, this is what I want to be, so that they think you have dreams of being up here, although you know in your heart you're not talented enough, have an understanding enough, or willing to put in the time to make it to that place. So you sabotage yourself consistently by not following through on what you say you're going to do, and then blaming outside people for not getting there. And so people don't think they deserve it. And if anyone wants to change your story, change the story that you tell yourself about who you are. I told this to somebody else the other day, I said, when you're in middle school and you tell yourself, I'm not good at math, I'm not a math guy. Right. All of a sudden, 20 years later, you're telling an accountant, well, I'm not good at math. Because you've been telling yourself that story for 20 years. And so you don't even think you deserve to be good at math. So change the story that you tell yourself about who you are, and tell yourself that over and over again. And then you start to say, oh, I do deserve this. I am good at talking to people. I am a great CPA. And then that's where good starts to happen, because you truly believe you deserve what you actually want.
So powerful. So mindset, right? It's mindset. Like we hear it a lot, but it's like, no, truly it is mindset shift, right? It is so easy to be a victim, right? To be like, I'm not here and it's not my fault, right? But to really say no, like taking that mentality and be like, hey, when I get there, like I can do this. Let me just take the steps. And the consistency, that's the name of the game, consistency. I think I was reading some statistics, and I'm going to butcher the statistics here, I'm pretty sure. But it was like most people who start podcasts, they never get past 3 podcasts. Yes. And then after that, and I don't remember the percentage, it was like 70% don't make it past 3. And then I think even a crazier percentage don't even make it past 20. So if you can make it past 20, like that's if you make it past 3, you've already beat, a lot of people. And the same thing I was reading on like companies that make 7 figures. It's only 4% of companies in the United States ever make 7 figures, right? And so it's like, I want to be part of that small percentage, and like that mentality, right? So there's such powerfulness in that. I think the power in knowing the statistics too, and kind of choosing where am I going to be, is really helpful in the mindset as well.
A different way to look at that, I tell people, is that if you know that's 3 is a statistic, that means that if you get to 3, you're probably going to at some point feel like giving up right there. Same thing with content we create for contractors. Eventually, they kind of look at me like, I'm not getting the traction that I want. I'm not getting views. This ain't for me. I think I'll come back to this next year. And then I tell them this. I was like, how many people do you think feel the exact same way you do at the exact same time? Probably all of them. So
Absolutely.
If you now take a step and do a little bit more, all those people that gave up, you've just surpassed all of those individuals now. Your pool that you're competing against just came a heck of a lot smaller. And then if you say 20 is the next one, okay, I feel like giving up here. Now your pool that you're playing against is just that much smaller. So you're not even, these 97%, they're in your rearview mirror now. So every time a client or someone I talk to says, it's not for me, good. That's when other people are telling themselves the exact same thing. And they're going to give up. So if you want to be in that group, man, hey, more power to you. Go be in that group. All right? Because no one's going to blame you for it. Like I said, your friends around you are going to go, yeah, man, you didn't want to be Joe Rogan anyway. Don't worry about it. But if you want to surpass those people and you don't want to be in that 97%, maybe do just a little bit more than what they're going to do and don't follow in their footsteps. But one thing people are like, well, what's a tangible step? I get this question like, okay, Patrick, that's more, figurative. Don't give up, keep pressing forward, blah, 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 blah. What does it really look like when it's a Tuesday night, right? And what that really looks like is you're going to have a conversation in your head sitting on the couch between a decision you have to make. The conversation might be, should I get up and go to the office? Like maybe you have an office or something at home. Should I maybe send that proposal out, or can I just do it tomorrow? All of a sudden, there's a conversation in your head that happens, whether it be, should I go to the gym? Should I not? Should I make dinner for my significant other? Should I not? Should I do the laundry for them? Or it doesn't matter. You have a conversation in here. And I tell my clients that's when you've already lost. You're now going back and forth, and you're going to compromise with yourself. I don't need to do that proposal. I can do it in the morning. No problem at all.
100.
Life and the kids get in the way, and at 6 a.m. you were supposed to do that. Now turns into noon, and you got an hour to get it done. It's not done the way you need it to be done. They don't like it. They don't hire you, and all because you had a conversation with yourself the night before and should have had more time to do it. So when you feel like that conversation happens, and it happens to all of us hundreds of times a day, should I go to lunch now? Boom, boom, boom. Understand you've lost because you're going to compromise. When that voice gets into your head, that's when you got to say, shut up. And you've got to tell that. You got to do what you need to do. And the way you do that is with physical action. So take a physical step towards doing something. We're talking about doing the proposal. Get up off the couch. That's fine. You made a step. Walk to the computer. Doesn't mean you have to do it. I tell my client, it doesn't mean that. But at least you're there. You've made progress. If you got there, maybe you can open the computer. Maybe you can type one sentence. Is that too much to ask?
Yeah.
And so a physical action, when you hear the voice towards what you know you should do, will put you there. So that's not my figurative, but really tangible of how to stop that.
100%. I love it. Like, it's very tangible actions that you could take. I love, like, hey, don't want to do this, get up. You know what I mean? Like, go do a move. And the action is what leads you to the success or leads you to accomplishing your goals. But a lot of times you just get stuck in your head, which you get paralyzed or paralysis, right? So very cool. Yeah. What is something in your industry, Patrick, that you want people to know, like debunk it, like that people think and you want to debunk?
Yeah, there are a lot of misconceptions. Do you want me to go more towards media and content or more towards blue collar?
Whichever you want. Your choice.
Yeah, so let's see here. Media or blue collar? I'll go with blue collar because we're hot on it right now. And there's a misconception in the industry of the guy who is constantly in a roofing or flooring or siding, a blue collar guy out there, even an entrepreneur, that their goal is to screw you over. And then like you go to the mechanic and you're like, I don't need a $500 repair. They're just screwing me over.
Right.
There are those people that are out there. There are. But here in Florida, we're at a special session right now that is, where our legislators get together to talk about property insurance.
Mm-hmm.
And I won't bore people with that, but I'll say that what they've said in these hearings the last 2 days are basically evil contractor taking advantage of people, taking advantage of the system. And there are those people out there. But most of us, 99% of us, not 0.9, aren't malicious people. We're all
Mm-hmm.
trying to put food on the table for our family. We're trying to provide a good service. We want to provide a good service. And I tell people this, that the contractors I've dealt with on all sides of industries are mostly very good people. They care.
I would agree with that.
And there's bad apples. You know this, Thais. You guys do a great job in administration of these. You see a lot of the back office. True. You truly see what they're about. I see it because I do content with them. So I'm in their businesses. I'm listening. I'm at meetings. So it's pretty cool. It's cool to see that there are good people in that industry, and I think more of that needs to be highlighted.
100%. Totally agree. I obviously am biased, but we definitely work with some of the most incredible roofing contractors in all of the U.S., and I could very solidly, my English is really good today. Oh my gosh. Solidify that they're awesome. And so true. Like, they're great people. They really want their clients to be happy, and they want to take good care of their people and their teams. And it's really cool to see. So I 100% agree with you for sure. So how can people reach you?
Probably the two best ways. You can find us on Facebook, and you can find me personally, Patrick Carr. One of them will pop up right there unless you block me or something. I don't know. But if you've got, then my Instagram is Patrick_R_Carr. And then if you want to support the show, it's The Patrick Carr Show on YouTube. We're also on the Apple, Spotify, and Rumble. So you can support the show on any of those as well. And we appreciate that very much, as I know people's time is valuable. So we always appreciate the support.
Awesome. Listen to him on Rumble. Listen to him on all the platforms, YouTube. But Rumble's pretty cool. I know we could talk about Rumble without, but if you don't use Rumble yet, you should totally go check it out, guys. We'll have to do another podcast on that. But Patrick, thank you so much for being on the show. We can't thank you enough. And everyone, seriously, go follow Patrick. He is the man, thebomb.com. All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a great one.
Thank you,
Bye.
I appreciate it. Thank you.